Thanks for being here. Welcome to the July 2nd, 2024 meeting of the Plan Commission. If everybody would kindly stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First thing I'll do is, of course, our roll call, and I'm the chairman. My name is Nick Parisi. Ed Schusler, vice chairman. Present.
Present.
John Paul is not here.
Not here.
Want to see if you were here. I meant to say Dan Sanchez. I apologize. And John Paul's present. Dan Sanchez is not. Patrick Zamparelli.
Here.
Yusuf Zatar is not here. And John Nugent is not here, but he may come a little later, I understand, okay? So first order of business is item number 2024-0516, approval of the June 18th Plan Commission meeting minutes, which all of you commissioners have gotten a copy of. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Schusler.
move that the minutes of June 4th, 2024 be approved as presented.
You mean June 18th, Ed?
I mean, June 18th, yes.
Thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Zamparelli. All in favor?
Aye.
Nobody opposed. Great. I move that we open public hearings with hearing number 2024-0188, downtown Orland Park special use for planned development. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Schusler, seconded by Commissioner Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, so we'll start public hearing number 2024-0188. It's a petitioner here. Okay, and anybody from the petition who wants to speak or maybe in a position to speak, if you're an engineer or something, we might have a question for you. So I just assume we swear you all in now, and then when it's your turn to speak, at that time, we'll ask you for your name and address, all that good stuff, okay? So, sir, would you like to begin? Well, you know what, let's swear you all in first. So anybody who's from...
Anybody who needs to be sworn in today, please raise your right hand.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that any testimony you present tonight in this matter will be the truth and nothing but the truth? If so, please say I do. I do. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, you have the floor. Well, we got you up front.
Isn't there a roving mic?
Is it going to record?
They can hear it upstairs, we just can't hear
You're
it.
good? We're good.
Yes, so speak
Good.
loud into the microphone.
We have our DJ up there.
Before you're done, I'm Kozlowski. Address is 3215 West Division Street, Chicago, Illinois. And I am the architect of the project. So we're here before the board tonight to talk about the Orland Park, downtown Orland Park development. What we're looking to do is to create a multifaceted entertainment district that is walkable, pedestrian focused, and really try to bring this parcel to life and really make an amenity for both the village of Orland, but then the surrounding community as a larger group. So talking about the parcels, what I will do is I'll start with the north end, and we have two parcels out there. We refer to them as parcels A and B. And really, this is kind of the backbone of our this is where we want to focus on entertainment districts. And so on the right-hand side is parcel B, on the left-hand side is parcel A. Parcel B runs the Range Road. And what we're proposing there is a two-story mixed-use building that would be commercial on the first floor. And what we're primarily looking at is retail and restaurants. And then on the second floor, office space. And then there is a small outlet building, about 6,000 square feet.
Carrie.
Okay, so parcel B, option one, is a two-story building with commercial on the first floor. Again, a mix of restaurants and retail. And then on the second floor for option one, we have the office space. And then option two, can you hear me? Okay. Option two would be a commercial on the first floor, so again, a mix of retail and restaurants. And then there would be 4 stories of hotel above, and what we're looking at is 120 rooms or keys for that hotel.
Excuse me for interrupting.
Yes.
It's awkward for us to be sitting up here and looking back there, and that's kind of far. Do we have a pointer that could,
Fortunately, the pointer doesn't work on these screens. I could try zooming in a little bit more.
Okay.
well, that's better. Yeah,
So really what we're trying to create here is this energy of commercial space. And really the key to this is vacating Jefferson Street that goes down and bisects between the 2 buildings. We want to turn this into a pedestrian district. So the tenants would have outdoor space for patios so that we can open up the doors, get that energy inside and out for days like tonight, where the restaurants can take advantage of it. Obviously, people who live here can take advantage of multiple top-end dining options that will happen there. And then that will bring that traffic for the retail shops that are mixed in between the restaurants. There is surface parking on both sides of these buildings, and obviously there is some parking there. Now the intention again is this whole development is going to be a pedestrian district. So really we're looking to activate the existing parking structure that's at the south end, next to the University of Chicago Medical Building. And really, we want people to walk through the whole development, and that's part of the experience, it's part of the energy that we're looking to create. And, to put it into perspective for everybody, walking from the parking garage to the north end of this development is comparable to walking across the mall. And so, when you put it into that perspective, it's not like we're asking somebody to run a marathon to get from the parking garage to this environment. And then really what we want is we want people to be walking by the other businesses that are there, just to create more energy, more awareness, really bring vibrancy to the whole district. And so really we want to be able to mix users, and you'll see this as we go through the other parcels as well, is we understand that if you just put restaurants in, it's not activated during the day. We want to make sure that it's daytime, it's evenings, it's weekends. We want to make sure that we're drawing different people for different reasons at different points throughout the week. So again, office, retail, and restaurants really heavily focused on that north end with that focus on the pedestrian district in the center. We really think that that's going to be our heartbeat. That's our main draw. So from there, if we move south, if you will. Thank you, Marcus. And the next parcel that we're going to be looking at is going to be twofold. If you don't mind, just zoom out just a hair for me.
Yeah.
So on the north end of this drawing is on the left-hand side is the existing Crescent Park as we all currently know it. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that park is still centrally located. It's for the community. It's a place that people can come even if they're not going to a restaurant or one of And so we wanted that to be in the center of our space to really kind of be able to draw together. And so ultimately where we landed with this is we actually want to expand Crescent Park to the east and take the north half of what is currently parcel E. And that allows us to get all the programming that we want and allow this to transform from Crescent Park to Heroes Park, which we'll go in a little bit more detail in a minute on. But really, this is going to be that community anchor that's for everybody. Directly south of that, and Marcus, if you want to zoom in on that portion of the parcel now,
This is going to be a two-story building, and what we are looking for and targeting here is an entertainment user. We are currently talking to some pickleball users. As you guys are probably aware, that is all the rage. And so if you're not aware with some of these pickleball users, the way that they're set up is similar to like a Pinstripes or maybe even a Dave and Buster's, to a point where you can go in, you have activities, but then there's also going to be a food and beverage component. There will be league play, there will be, you can go for a birthday party. You want to get the kids out of the house for a little bit, for a couple hours in the winter, and let them run around and play some games. This is what we're thinking here. Then we can go to the next page. Okay, so this is parcel C. So this is in the lower left-hand corner or southwest corner of our development. Again, wanting to have a variety of uses and be able to bring different people from the community to the whole center here. What we're looking here is this is going to be a daycare facility. And so now we're bringing kids, we're bringing parents at a different time of day, bringing awareness. Maybe they go and get coffee, maybe they go to some of the retail spaces. So this is, again, just part of the strategy of having dynamic users, a variety of different reasons to come here. Okay. Okay, so this is, we're actually bouncing back up. So this is on the north end of the parking lot of the University of Chicago parking lot. So this is basically bordered between 142nd and LaGrange. That would be the southwest corner of that intersection. We're looking at two options here. Both would be a one-story slab-on-grade building. We are looking at potentially doing a restaurant there. And if we do a restaurant, we'd like to have a patio attached to it. So again, really trying to have that indoor-outdoor energy, really trying to leverage the pedestrian, the community, having that visual of it's just not people inside a building, but also taking advantage of the space around it as well. And then the second option that we have for this is it would be a one-story, 12,000 square foot medical building. And so this, it could be something that's associated with University of Chicago or something different. But the idea is, again, a variety of uses. We'd love to put a restaurant in there, but maybe we put a medical user in there. So again, it's a variety of users, bringing different people to the center for different reasons. I think that's all the plans we have. The last space that we don't have a drawing of as part of this document is, well, actually, wait, I'm sorry, we do still have in the parking garage. Yes. There is a commercial space in the first floor of the parking garage. Ideally, we would like to maybe target a microbrewery, somebody that, again, food and beverage, give them a little bit of an outdoor patio. You'll see that theme reoccurring throughout the development of we want indoor, outdoor. We want to really take advantage of our summer months. So, we're thinking, again, another food and beverage operator would be in there. The nice thing is again, from a strategy standpoint, we really want to activate that parking garage, giving some users between the entertainment user and this space. It brings a little bit more viability to the south end of the development as a whole. I think that's it. And then the last one that we don't have a drawing for is inside the metro station. We're currently talking to a coffee shop, and so planning in there. Obviously, the train station would still function as a train station. It would just be an amenity that would be at the north end. That would be your traditional kind of coffee shop that if you're going to catch the train, pick up some pastries, some coffee, and then jump on the train.
I thought, were you going to change any of the parking to the west of the train station?
So are you talking about on the other side of Southwest Highway?
Yes.
So we are looking at that as potential multi-unit residential, looking at potentially townhouses or apartments. That is in the preliminary stages right now. We don't have a size of how many units, how many square feet, how many floors. We're working on that as we speak.
You're talking on the,
I'm sorry?
you're referring to the east side of Southwest Highway.
No, this is on the south, well, it would be the northwest corner of the intersection of 143rd and Southwest.
Where the gas station used to be.
No, no.
No.
Not, it's on, you're on the east side of Southwest Highway, the west side of the train tracks,
Right.
Okay,
right?
Right.
Not the
Okay.
gas station, that's a whole different
No,
development.
I was-
All right.
Not Hanson.
No, because you can recall we had proposal, quite some, is another thing, that's not their property. I'm talking, we're on this side of Southwest Highway.
Yep.
Good enough. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, sir.
Can
Okay.
you clarify that? Are you talking about townhouses where the Metro parking is on the west side of the tracks?
I don't think we would be removing any parking spaces. Do you want to verify with Ramsey? But I don't think so.
Mr. Chairman,
I would think you'd have to.
sorry. The site that development or proposed idea is the Hanson property, which you referred to, is he was just describing. If your question was about what was happening to the Metro parking on between Southwest Highway and the train tracks, was that the area that you were talking about?
No, but the Hanson property is not.
The Hanson property
part of this
is
No,
not
that's
part of
what-
this
that's what I'm
development.
saying, yeah.
Correct.
I didn't think it was.
But it is
Okay.
Separate agreement.
All right.
But the question was actually about the Metro parking.
Okay, good to know. But we're not doing anything to the parking, right? The Metro parking. Okay, okay. I have Ramsey on here.
See, we don't need speakers. They hear us all the way there.
Yep, okay, sounds good. Yeah, thank you.
More info?
Okay, so, sorry, that was Ramsey, he's out of town right now, he apologizes that he's not here. So the Metro parking, to answer your question, we're not changing anything to the Metro parking, it's staying as
On the
is.
west side of the railroad tracks.
Correct,
That's.
Yeah.
Correct.
Stays as parking,
correct.
but it could be overflow parking
So-
after 5 o'clock.
Yes, so from a strategy, we can speak to, we are looking at shared uses depending on time of day and all that. We are looking at taking advantage of, obviously, the parking garage, University of Chicago's parking and Metro's parking. And we are,
Chairman Percy, the parking right next to the train station will stay active on the east side of the track. And the parking on the west side of the track, all of it will stay active.
Thank you.
yes,
Thank you.
easy answer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do you want to speak on the Heroes Park real quick?
You want to speak to anything? Please. Please have your name and address and your position for the record.
We don't go with a writing company and landscape architect. So here is the overall downtown plan, and we're gonna focus on the north pond, and then the middle is the Heroes Park, and then parcel C. Next page, please.
There you go.
So as Corey explained that we're gonna have more expanded Crescent Park towards the east. So to do that, we have to realign the streets. So we have to remove certain trees, but good thing is that most of the trees are now pear trees. So now that's not recommended trees now. So it's kind of nice to that we can furnish the nice trees. But as you see, the X marks, that is the where we're gonna remove the trees. So next page, please. And here's the park. So mainly this it's gonna be located in the center of the downtown Orland Park. And then, as Corey explained, that it's gonna serve as a hub. So people come in here, they can each to access here, and then they want to find their restaurants and stores, wherever they want to go, they can go. And if they don't want to go there, then they can stay here. So as you see, there's many colorful things, but I can point out the main features. The one of the things that we're going to have is a water feature, and then it's a Heroes Park, so we're going to have a memorial feature such as archways. You will see that a little bit of the east upper corner. And then we will have band shell for small concerts. And there's going to be the ice rink and for winter. And there will be flexible open space, paved, not paved, for many, many kinds of events we want to have, such as art fairs, or food truck alleys, or farmers markets, whatever community wants or they desires. So main idea is we want to have flexible open area so people can have, and this park itself evolve. There's no limits, so it can have lots more of opportunities. And as a bonus, it's not only those features, also you will have very attractive site amenities like artful furniture or swing sets, or maybe have some space for the small group or middle group or larger group, wherever they want to go. And they will have, there will be walk pathway through the gardens and beautiful garden, stylized plantings as we can expect, like Four Seasons, attractive, and also even light garden. All of this awesome stuff is gonna be, we're gonna have here. So as Corey mentioned, we are not just attracting the only local people, eventually, more than just local. Okay, so it will be final destination. Pick a next page. And this is the more photos, concept photos. It's not exactly what it's gonna look like, so just better to explain how it's gonna be, may potentially look like. So as you see, there's archway, water features, lighting, light garden, and nested small group area, and ice rink for winter, and lots more. Next page, please. And this landscaping area, as you see, lots of, is more than 50%, I believe is about 65 or 70% is lots of green space. And we will follow the code. So there are gonna be a lot of native planting and also beautiful other stylized planting. So there are gonna be a lot of interest overall. Next page, please. And next one is a North Pond. This is part C first. Okay. Partial C is going to be the main, one of the main entrance from the street. So we will utilize that as much as we can, make it more attractive landscaping along this street. We are pretty much keeping all the trees, so we are not removing that much. So there's going to be more trees. And if you go next page. And this daycare building, as you see, and then parking. And then number A is open space for the kids, and then their playground, and then all the plantings gonna be buffer and screen from the street, so kid doesn't feel like, they don't feel like it's unsafe. And also still is attractive enough to people notice that is a downtown entrance. And next page, please. This in North Pond is a detention pond, but we want to make it better than just detention pond. So the main idea is more making interaction. So now the water is a little low. However, we can have like lightings and fountains and make it people to attract to this pond. So make them to walk towards the pond and walk around. Maybe a little more local art features possibly from the Orland Park. So people come here, and then there are going to be restaurant and patio. They have to see something. Then there you go. We can have attractive pond, and better than just detention pond. That's the main point, right? And we will have, as needed, enhance the landscaping. So I know that there's been a little bit of a hard time to keep the trees, but we will enhance as much as we can, and we will work with the engineers. So we will activate as a pond. And if we go next page. And this is what we had to provide. It's very premature. However, we are promising we're going to keep the planting to comply with a code. So we will plant per ordinance. So we will work with landscape architects from the village. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay.
For one
Of course,
more point,
please.
I forgot before I brought her up was Edwards Realty retained White as landscape architect because They are the landscape architect for the master planning for the village. And he wanted to make sure that there was a seamless approach and design with the village and this development.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Staff?
So I'd like to begin by requesting that the staff report is entered into the record as written and as presented during this case. So the purpose of this petition is to review the special use permit application for downtown Orland Park. We'll be looking at the site plan, landscape plan, and modifications to approve the concept plan for the park. The site's located in the downtown planning district within the Main Street sub-district and is designated in the comprehensive plan as downtown mixed use. The petitioner is requesting approval of the special use permit with modifications, site and landscape plan approval, and approval of a plat of subdivision. The property is zoned Village Center District and is compatible with the surrounding areas. The purpose of the Village Center District is to have a diverse use of mixes in a pedestrian-oriented environment. And the comprehensive plan goal is to have residents live, work, and play in and around the downtown area. The Village Center District has some development principles which should be considered with new projects located within that zoning district. And I underlined some of the key elements from the development principles, and staff believes that these have been substantially met for the project. Some of these development principles are strong architectural identities, promoting mixed-use buildings, creating attractive street facades, allowing safe and attractive pedestrian connections, creating open space amenities, reducing visual impacts of parking lots and other items, encourage alternative parking options such as on-street parking and shared parking, and encourage buildings to provide dual entrances. And here's an aerial view of the downtown planning district for reference. And for the existing site, downtown Orland Park already implemented a lot of amenities on the site, which include the decorative streetscapes, street furniture, civic structures, plazas and parks, as well as like a pond overlook. And the existing area also contains the 547 space parking structure, the 9750 on the park apartment complex, which is 295 units, along with ground floor commercial. The 143rd Street train station, multi-use paths running through the site, and a path connection over LaGrange Road to surrounding neighborhoods. For this case, the petitioner is requesting approval of the special use permit and plat of subdivision and modifications that will allow for parking lots within the setback area between the building and the street, and allowing for trash enclosures within the setback area between the building and the street. And then 5 additional modifications on parcel C due to topography challenges. For the proposed project phasing plan, the phasing plan is outlined in the draft redevelopment agreement for downtown Orland Park. This phasing plan is different from our normal review process for plan developments, but will reduce the timeline for future phases of the project. And the proposed phasing plan is added as a condition of approval and closely resembles the entitlements process listed in our regional mixed-use campus district, which is our I-80 corridor. And then Steve will go into some of these approaches.
Yeah, I know that we've already briefed the commissioners separately on the process, and like Marcus said, we already have almost an identical process in place for another zoning district. So for the public that's here, basically, if the recommendation is to approve the plan development tonight, as long as what will be proposed to fill in those building footprints is consistent with the plan, and they're not asking for any additional relief, and it's consistent with the agreement that they're going to enter into with the village, they can go directly to the board for approval because we've already approved all the concepts of the basics of the plan.
And here's the overall site plan, and I'll go into these parcels as well individually. I know it's a little hard to see when it's zoomed out. A preliminary landscape plan was recommended for approval by staff for the project, And tree mitigation is required for all tree removals except specifically exempt species outlined in the code, such as the calorie pears. A preliminary plat was provided for downtown Orland Park, and on the proposed plat, all parcels do meet the Village Center District standards. And this plat also shows the vacation and dedication to complete the new downtown street network, which is the new arrangement of Crescent Park Circle. Going into parcel A and B, parcel A and B have that pedestrian promenade that was mentioned with outdoor tenant space along the building frontages. There is also a proposed 15-foot archway sign at the entrance to the promenade right off of 142nd Street near that drop-off and pickup zone. This will most likely require a future sign code amendment, by the way. There are existing stairs and a ramp at the pedestrian street. Parcel A is a two-story mixed-use building featuring retail, restaurant, and office space, along with outdoor tenant space, and that's for option 1. Option 2 for parcel A would feature a 5-story building, but instead of office space, a hotel is planned. Parcel B, the main building features a 2-story mixed-use building with retail, restaurants, and office, as well as the outdoors tenant space, and the outlot building is currently identified as commercial on site, about 6,000 square feet.
So very similar to the different options that we had when we approved the Wild Fork. So both options are on the table. So if they comply with either of those plans, they could still move forward directly to the village board.
And parcel C is the daycare parcel that was previously mentioned. It includes a 40-car parking lot in front of the building. The site is on a steep hill, which will require retaining walls on 143rd and on the rear of the building, closer to that multi-use path that's currently out on site. After working on several layouts of the building and the parking lot with the petitioner, this layout made the most sense. There is an existing entrance to the site where the parking lot is aligned currently. But because of this layout, there are 5 modifications requested, and that they're all due to the topography of the site. And in order to offset these modifications, an incremental improvement was requested to install a decorative garden wall or a decorative feature on the corner of 143rd and Main Street. The village would like this to appear as kind of a continuation of the existing street wall that exists. It goes all the way from University of Chicago, extends westward to the end of 9750. We kind of want to hold that street corner and continue that style. And the modifications for parcel C that deal with the topography are allowing parking lots and drive aisles between the building and the street, allowing for an increased front building setback up to 24 feet from Main Street, allowing for a reduced rear building setback along the retaining wall closer to that multi-use path, allowing for a playground to be located beyond the front building setback, closer to the parking lot, and allowing for a trash enclosure beyond the building setback in between the building and the street. Parcel C has a preliminary landscape plan that was approved by staff and will be finalized during that phase of the project. Making our way over to parcel E, it's about 1.5 acres in size and will have the primary entrance along Crescent Park Circle. The proposed plan for parcel E is a 2-story building about 60,000 square feet in size, intended for an entertainment user. And the current site plan shows the user as an indoor recreation and, as the petitioner mentioned, pickleball. A modification is required for this parcel for the garbage enclosure location. It's currently shown on the plans here in the southwest corner of the parcel. And this is just because the building is fully surrounded by streets on all 4 sides. The garbage enclosure would have to go somewhere. And we believe this is a good location just because you have the residential entrance, the garage on the west side of here, And then you have the parking garage entrance on the east side. So you're not really putting a garbage enclosure near any storefronts or gathering spaces. And then parcel F is our existing 547 space parking structure and the existing 12,000 square foot vacant restaurant space. And then also the corner of Jefferson and Main Street does have that 3,000 square foot patio area. And then parcel H has two options as well. Our restaurant option, which is about 8,000 square feet with a 2,700 square foot patio. And option 2 is a 12,000 square foot medical office building. Both options have the same size parking lot, but they do have different parking requirements that were outlined on the staff report. And again, here's our central Heroes Park site. And for parking, the Village Center District promotes shared parking facilities and it encourages fewer surface parking lots and a wide variety of land uses within the district. The proposed parking does meet the requirement of off-street parking in section 6306, and there's a total of 1,456 parking spaces within the downtown area, and that's proposed and future. A condition has been added to the special use approval for the petitioner to correct the parking totals and ratios on the preliminary site plan. There may have just been some confusion because we had some recent code amendments. And this would include the medical office parking ratio as well as the parcel E building square footage. Additionally, a traffic impact study is required to be approved by the Director of Engineering prior to proceeding to the board for this case. Walker Consultants conducted a parking study in June of 2024 and found that the future parking needs are overall sufficient for the site, with the peak future demand having parking be about 86% full on a peak weekend evening. And just for reference, an efficient parking lot standard is approximately 85% full at their peak time. Going to lot coverage, the impervious area of the site is about 73.5% out of 75% allowed. No modification has been requested by the petitioner for an increase in the overall lot coverage. So just after the passing of this ordinance, the lot coverage must remain under 75% unless a future modification for the plans is requested. And I'll pass this over to Scott, Village Engineer.
Perfect. All right, thanks, Marcus. Just a few quick engineering items that are a little bit unique to this case. So site circulation, just a few coordination items that we've had with the petitioner. So we've requested the petitioner to include decorative crosswalks consistent with what's currently on the site, as well as enhanced lighting for pedestrian safety. And of course, design, photometrics, all that would be reviewed in final engineering. Access to parcel A, and then the loading area, ride share area that Marcus mentioned. The further that we worked with the petitioner to shift that west from the 142nd Street intersection, the better. So we're happy with the site plan proposed today that it accomplishes that. As far as parcel B access, we're requesting the petitioner to take a little bit more look as part of the traffic study. Again, just verifying and making sure that the signal timing at 142nd and LaGrange is appropriate. And of course, with the site plan and those traffic operations, just discouraging anybody that would want to take any U-turns over there. Utility relocations are unique to this project as well. The village has budgeted funds in 2024 for utility relocation design and construction. That's just our utilities, water, sanitary, and storm sewer. And we're basically just talking the large mains here. So the major points here would be a 48-inch storm sewer, which is currently in conflict with parcel A. So I think it's about 500 feet would have to be relocated for this site plan, as well as a new outlet into the North Pond. And then new sanitary sewer and water main connections to the existing main in LaGrange Road would be required. These are in conflict with parcel B. So The petitioner is responsible to coordinate and complete all of their utilities to serve the development. So any new water, sewer, water sanitary, storm sewer that would be needed, as well as franchise utilities, ComEd, AT&T, Comcast. And then, of course, utility relocation, clearances, all of those details will be reviewed in final engineering as well. All right, stormwater management's, again, very unique for this parcel here. So the original downtown Main Street triangle was permitted in 2006. Since then, much of the requirements from MWRD have changed in that time. So just in that time from 2006, there have been about 5 permits for that area, just from basically what's existing there today. So the biggest change is that MWRD had introduced volume control, again, basically infiltrating the first inch of storm into the ground. So that's why we have paver streets, permeable paver streets at Jefferson and B Street. So again, the overall goal with this petition is to bring the entire site up to the 2024 requirements. Then next slide. So again, with that, we're aware of the existing permeable paver streets. Yeah, there are multiple areas here that are just in rough condition, sagging, shifting, things like that. So we're coordinating with the petitioner. We're asking them to provide a suitable alternative to that, and that would have to be approved by MWRD as well. So we've discussed at least permeable pavements, permeable concrete, possibly a mix thereof. Again, as long as we're compliant with those previous permits and current standards. And then a good example, just bringing that up to current day, would be parcel C, to where you see pavers, basically the permeable pavers would be confined just in those center stalls, whereas the actual drop-off loading area for parcel C is decorative, non-permeable, so like a stamped concrete type of application. Yep.
And for the staff recommended action, staff recommends to accept and make findings of fact as discussed at this plan commission meeting and with the staff report dated June 27th. And also staff recommends that the plan commission approve the special use permit for the plan development subject to the phasing condition, as well as some of our standard development requirements or conditions that are listed 2 through 5. And then the additional conditions are to revise the parking table on the site plan to accurately reflect village parking requirements and to provide a final traffic impact study that is approved by the Director of Engineering prior to proceeding to Committee of the Whole or Board of Trustees. Staff also recommends approval of the 7 modifications for the site. And staff recommends approval that the Plan Commission approve the preliminary site plan and landscape plan and the preliminary plat of subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now we go to our guest. Did you have something, sir? Did you have a question or anything? Yes. Would you please step up? Well, it's not working, but you can step up there anyway. Would you, I don't think we didn't, yeah, please.
My name is Brian Cowan. I currently reside in Louisville, Texas. However,
Can you
I spend
please
a lot of time
excuse
up
me,
here.
can you please use the microphone?
What's your last name again?
Cowan.
Cowan, okay.
My name is Brian Cowan. I currently reside in Louisville, Texas. However, I grew up in this area. I attended St. Michael's, went to Carl Sandburg High School. And I remember this property being light industrial. Then there was a barber shop. Then there was a gun shop.
Randy's.
And then, pardon me?
Randy's.
Exactly. And then the Ace Hardware store, which I think the gentleman who owned it, his name was Al. And then there was a used car, which became an RV place.
Right.
My concern, and kudos to everyone who's been involved in this plan, I can see the thousands of hours that went into it. However, anybody do an EPA study on that land? I have many friends and family in this area, and my concern is just this. Back in the day, Chemicals like MEK, lacquer thinners that were used at that light industrial there. They made windows, woods, things of this nature. Common practice back then, before the EPA, it got dumped into the dirt. Please don't get yourself in a situation where a problem arises later on. That's my only concern.
Well, thank you for expressing it.
And thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Okay. Kirsty, I would think we did an EPA study. I don't think he can hear you. Well, if you just talk louder, I'm advanced in my years, you know.
Just use both.
So environmental study was done when the last phase of the project was done, when University of Chicago was built. So those reports are available and they have been shared with the developer.
Oh, good. So we did it when the University of Chicago was going up, the hospital, huh? Great.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Schuessler.
I said, actually, I should turn it on because I guess they can hear us upstairs with the microphone. I was on the village board when this project started about 20 years ago. And actually, there was remediation done on this property because the soil testing disclosed that there were chemicals from Norman's Cleaners. So the site was remediated over a number of years to get rid of those chemicals.
Thank you for that additional information. Thanks for asking. Okay, with that, now I will go to my commissioners for any comments or questions they may have. Commissioner Zamparelli?
You want me to use the microphone?
No, you got a pretty good voice.
I do have a big voice.
Yeah, you do.
I think they're recording it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me? Okay. That was a great question because I was concerned, right where the daycare center is, was the Davidson Concrete, and they had a lot of problems. So, I'm assuming we did take care of that. We did have a environmental on that end as well, correct? Who?
Yes, also they discovered an underground fuel tank where the lumberyard was.
Beatty. Yes, okay, all right, great, because I appreciate the concern there, that was a great question. This one, the next question, the pond, that's a retention pond, correct? It doesn't hold much water right now, we gonna hold more water, or what are we gonna do with that? It's like 20 feet deep, but there's never anything in it.
I mean, I didn't know it's a retention pond, to be honest with you. I thought it's detention pond because the water is not there and it's low. So I think a study has to be there, how we can, the volume-wise. So we have to talk with the civil and I can get.
Because we want all the water to go in there.
Yes. So there has, we have to understand that where the water coming from and then the boundary and then how we control the water. And I don't have that piece of information to answer the question. So.
Mr. Chairman, I can provide a little bit more clarity too. So, so this pond is a little interesting in that it drains a big portion of Ravinia and LaGrange actually. So that's kind of the reason for the size just in general there. Interestingly, so when the pond was originally designed in 2006, it actually assumed that the entire triangle piece would be entirely impervious, just as like a conservative calculation. So that's probably why it's so deep, and what you see out there is why it's like that. But yes, it is a retention pond. Yes, we have to comply with all those previous permits, as well as current standards, current rainfall, all of that's kind of baked into our coordination with MWRD. Yeah,
Thanks, Scott.
yeah.
And if I may just add to that, so the goal for this development is to activate that pond, so both the pond itself and the area around it. Obviously, we have to take into account the fact that have to have the volume control and have the ability.
In terms of the water level, but the storage of the pond itself would be remaining the same of what it can store up to a high level.
Okay.
That's all. And everything else that the village engineer said is everything else I was going to say and agree with. So
And you're supposed to have a fountain in there or something?
I believe that is part of it, that, correct me if I'm wrong, that a fountain.
Oh, that, I
is
mean,
maybe
that's
gonna be
great, circulate that water.
Because it was, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was intended at the start of it that that could happen.
Yeah, and it's worth noting too that there's a parallel storm sewer system to this pond as well. I believe it's 48-inch as well. So it's, you know, the overtopping concerns, that's more of like the relief sewer that's actually not going to be affected as part of this project. At least that's the current plan.
I just asked because I think it's a beautiful asset. I think you could really make it part of the development, really. Orland spent a lot of money on that retention pond. So I'm glad you're utilizing it.
Yeah, from an experience standpoint, we do want to activate it, again, with the path around it, and then it's at the north end of our entertainment district, so we want to have outdoor seating overlook it, and so we really want to bring that as, again, part of the community, right?
Great. All right, next question. The ice skating rink is off by the train tracks over there. What are we going to do with that in the spring, in the warm weather? What did you say? You spoke kind of quick on the ice skating rink.
Where?
Ice skating.
Ice skating? Yeah, we are.
Summertime, what's that going to be?
It's gonna be the permanent ice rink. I understand there is a one ice rink in Centennial Park right now,
Yes.
and I understand it's very underutilized. And then
Well, it's so hard to find.
Yeah, that's what I heard. And it's just gonna be opportunity to have permanent, but for only winter. So in that way, we can utilize that like a kind of two birds, right? Like one spot can have ice rink and also a plaza, so people can have concert venue. So that's what I was introducing, that number 10. So
Right.
we're a little tent area, it's gonna be ice rink, so which means the pipe's gonna be under and permanent, and you see that number 23, it's gonna be chiller, so it's gonna provide that, the function for the ice rink for the winter, and then summertime it's gonna winterize and use it as a plaza.
Just a plaza, okay, all right. Now, you said with Crescent Park there, you have to take the streets out, is that what I understood? Some of the streets are coming out.
Yes.
Are they going to be the same width they are currently, or are you making them a little wider?
So we are going to make them a little bit wider. It's still going to be a one-way street, and so it won't be significantly, but we have been working with staff where they've been asking us to make sure that when you're turning in, turning out, let's be a little bit more generous. So we understand that there's a little bit of a pinch point there, and we're looking to improve that.
Thank you. I like the whole idea. I like the hotel. I think that's a great, I've been wanting a hotel on the north side of Orland Park for a long time. So I think you guys are on the right track. Last question. Is there any development like this in the country? Is there another model like this anywhere?
So there is, there's a similar one in Alpharetta, Georgia. It is probably about an hour north of Atlanta. And now theirs is, it was developed by the city of Alpharetta, but it's got multiple ownerships in there, and it kind of is, they've made a downtown center out of it. It's actually very successful, and if you're ever in the area, I definitely recommend checking it out. A lot of great restaurants. Ironically, they've got a park in the middle. They've got a lot of the same amenities that we have, and it's hugely successful. It's got some office, it's got some residential, it's got a lot of retail and restaurants. They do have, I think they have 2 parking structures, and everybody, they all park around, and this is, again, it's an hour outside of Atlanta. They all park at the perimeter and they all walk around, and it's like you're in the middle of Bucktown or Wicker Park or, anywhere in the major metropolitan area.
That's great. I was you mentioned the medical center. I forget what plot, right off LaGrange Road, 142nd. I hate to see a medical go there. I'd love to see a restaurant. I think restaurants are going to do better there.
That is our first choice.
H, actually, yeah, it was H. Yeah, that's, on the pickleball, how many, any, just as a wild guess, how many courts you going to put? Are they going to be indoor, right?
So, yeah, they would be indoor, and I'll say anywhere from, it depends, 12 to maybe as many as 20.
That's a nice
Yeah,
size.
it's going to be a good-sized facility, yes.
It is taking off, so I wish you luck. I like the idea, so good luck to you.
And Ramsey's
you.
reminding me that Rosemont has a similar version of this. I would like to think that ours might be a little bit more
little better.
dynamic, but that's me.
We'll say hi to Ramsey.
Thank you.
I would recommend checking out the one in Alpharetta first.
What was it?
Alpharetta. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you. You done?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Nugent.
Scott, just a small follow-up on detention, retention. So I caught it when I was reviewing to come here, and I know on the plan you call it detention, retention. And it's, when we did the pre-meetings, my focus was that it be utilized, and obviously it's obvious to utilize, but just as part of that utilization. So all the people that live east of LaGrange Road that would maybe come via walking or parking, they can still come around the water feature, or water pond as we still call it, and they can still just come. So even if they're not here for any business, they have full access and all that, right? Nothing changes?
I think that's correct. I think you have the system correct. Yeah.
Correct.
Well, Scott, I kind of veered there too, because I was still doing the engineering, my bad. But, so it is detention and retention at the same time still? Because I know it's all about the water level. I know we didn't develop it completely, so all the different ways that water is going to get there. This is fully developed. We're adding more water in, but we want it to be a feature, but we also have a controlled release.
Yeah, basically the way that I won't bore you with the engineering details, but essentially, when you have a retention pond, your detention volume that you're considering, it's from that water surface upwards. So you're not considering any water out there as like lost volume. Does that make sense? Your actual, engineering volume that you're looking at is from that water surface up. Yeah, whatever's below there is a bonus, and, we like to see a fountain water feature, all of that. Yeah.
Okay. And so one can, when this is done, you can choose to walk around this, whoever. You can walk around this pond, right? I can go here and I can just go for a walk. Because we want people to do that. We want to come here and walk, and then maybe they decide I am going to get a coffee or a Coke or whatever. But you can walk around the park.
Yeah, there will be
North Pond.
a walking path all the way around the North Pond. The bridge over LaGrange will remain. The walking path along the west side, along the Metro tracks, will remain as well.
So combining a lot of this stuff with the theme question of being the commuter parking traffic plan. So I'm thinking only the perspective, I'm a commuter. I get we want them to utilize everything this is happening, but I'm just talking about from the aspect, I'm coming here to get on and off a train, okay? So the area northeast of the daycare really isn't changing. I mean, the drawing looks the same. So they have the same amount of parking. So if I currently like to come in on Main Street to avoid most of it, I come in on Main, I scoot in that part of the parking lot, I can still exit, obviously I have to go west, right?
That is correct.
So that part of it doesn't change. Now, I thought in the pre-plans, if I'm gonna park up and down Southwest Highway, which we might even encourage more of, do we have enough crossovers, whether it's the commuters or whatever? Because we have 2 crossovers now, right? You can cross twice?
Correct.
And doing this, I don't know why, but I feel like it should have been on the drawing plan, but like if we get Wild Saturday, everyone's going, everything's here, we want, hopefully, and need to utilize parking on the east side of Southwest Highway, right?
Yes.
So we're gonna have safe, easy, lit crossing of parking people.
From the west side. So yeah, the west side Metro.
West side of the tracks, east side of Southwest Highway.
Correct.
Correct.
That parking lot will remain as is. I can't speak to the specifics of Metro's strategy as far as where and how they cross. I can tell you, I'm a daily commuter on the Metro, and I've gotten off at my fair share of different stops. It seems like they have a strategy of wanting to control where pedestrians cross the train tracks from a safety standpoint. So I think our idea would be, yes, we do want people to take advantage of that parking, and then where they cross we'd like to keep that where it currently is.
So a decent amount of people, majority of people utilize LaGrange to 142nd to commute. But there's enough people that take Jefferson or Ravinia. So post-plan, a commuter's gonna actually be frustrated. They're not gonna really wanna do Ravinia to Crescent, to circle back to Jefferson, to come back to 142nd. So we're almost, lack of a better word, we're gonna discourage commuters to utilize Ravinia to go to parking, right?
Correct.
They can.
Yes.
But they'll quickly realize there's no point. So they almost should cut in post-plan Jefferson to go up and make the circle.
Yes.
Or, in a perfect world, everybody on 142nd?
I mean, that would be ideal. That's going to be our front door, so to speak.
And the net result is during their early commute or their return, if we feel that there's not enough because this is so successful, they can park on the east side of Southwest Highway at the west side of the tracks.
That is
right?
correct.
John,
Yes.
if I could interrupt for a minute, I think Mr. Hoda has something to say on the subject. Thank you, Kirshen.
Thank you. So there's no plan to change the crossings? That has to go through Metro. That is not, they will not be able to control that. I mean, they certainly are welcome to coordinate that if they want to add more crossings and all of that, but that definitely is going to be under Metro's control. We, as this project progresses, we may ask for and look into either enhancing or adding more crossings if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, we're currently not really utilizing the north half of that west section. And if this goes well, that parking's pretty convenient, actually, to go to our north area. So we want people to maybe, say they come up Southwest Highway or they come from like Sandburg area, park on Southwest Highway, cross over. We want people to come that way, I think.
I know you're right on that, but if you look at the, can you get the site plan? If you look at the site plan, the north of 143rd, those are buildings that, if you look at that, they are not encouraging that people from the Metro parking lot coming into north of 143rd. The best thing is to come across closer to the station, and then you have other activities that you can get into. So that's one. And then the other, I think you had one more question that I wanted to answer, but I think just.
The biking I had said maybe, but,
So the other part you were asking about commuter parking. If you look at, after this project is done, the only commuter parking is left is just south of the train station. Other than that, east of the track, there's no commuter parking.
okay, was gonna be my last follow-up to that. So that north parking, a commuter is not, the stuff like say behind the hotel, that's not even
That
available
is,
for
that
commuters.
is for the development. That is not going to be part of, am I right on that one? That is going to be development parking, not for commuter parking. So commuter parking now is going to stay on the west side of the track. And all the parking that we had for commuters on this side of the track, if ever Metro goes back to where they were occupying 85, 90% occupancy in their trains or ridership in their trains, then the village will look into if we need to add more parking or not.
Of the existing train now, there's a good amount of people that do park northeast of the station. There's
Correct.
people that park southwest of the station.
So
and
all of
people
the-
that park west of the tracks.
all of the parking on this side of the track are getting removed.
Okay,
So only, except, I'm going to keep saying that, except for the,
daycare section.
the parking just immediately next to the train station.
Okay.
That will stay.
Okay.
If I can just add one comment, so Walker Consultants is our parking consultant for the property.
Yeah, they had a big report. I read
Yeah.
that.
Part of their report, just to kind of quick hit a couple bullet points, is they did both a study of Metro's ridership, and then they also did a study of the commuters that currently use those, the parking lots, both east and west. And they said that even with us taking away that northeast parking lot and turning it into the development, that there's more than adequate with the projected ridership as it continues to increase.
With more people are gonna have to realize they should park on the southwest highway side.
It's a little bit more retraining than it is, do we have enough parking spots? Yes.
The only thing happens, Commissioner Nugent, is that in the future, which is, I don't know how far that future is, if the ridership goes up and we get an express train that serves Orland Park, that might change over time. But we have accommodations in the parking lot west of the track that if we need to build more parking, we can build more parking. There is space for that.
Awesome.
Parking has been an issue in a number of recent proposals that come before us, tight parking and everything. So I really appreciate the detailed presentation. Was reading from Walker Consultants. They did a real thorough analysis of that, and that's appreciated. I'm sorry, John, did you have any more?
Kind of keeping parking with, UFC owns their parking, the building to the west, or do we, or does the village?
I believe that's the village.
It's theirs, isn't it?
Leased.
It's currently leased from the village to University of Chicago.
And we have the right to use it at night and weekends?
Parking lot is currently leased to University of Chicago, but after 25 years, I think from 2017, they will own it after 25 years.
They're gonna own it? That's the garage or the parking lot? Well, the parking lot they don't own,
The
right?
parking lot will be owned by University of Chicago. The parking garage is owned by the village. However, the university have, I believe, close to 200, I do not exact number, probably 187 or something like that. 176? 176 spaces that are permanently leased to, not leased, but they have the right to use from morning to certain hours in the afternoon, that they have the right on the upper two floors that they'll have. But once they are done, then those same parking spaces will be available for the development to be used.
Okay.
And they have exclusive use like up to 5 p.m.?
I believe it's 3 p.m.
3 p.m.?
But it's either 3 or 5 p.m., I do not. We can confirm.
It's 3 p.m. for the Metro, 5 p.m. for University of Chicago.
Okay, so 3 p.m. for Metro, 5 p.m. for
Okay.
University of Chicago.
On, again, I think it's staff. So business tenants at 9750 has not been successful, right? But there's somebody going there now, right? The corner.
There
unit
is an
somebody's-
open business currently. I believe it's a
Yeah.
dental office.
So I want them to succeed. So as we change Crescent Parkway and all that, I want to go to a business at 9750. Where do I park?
They actually have about 20 guest parking spaces
So that's
for
the
the
stuff that's
commercial.
on Jefferson, no, that's Ravinia.
It's
So that's the stuff
actually-
on Ravinia and then in front?
It's actually in their parking garage
Oh,
on the first floor.
that works?
So far, it has been. I mean, like you said, we have not had we haven't had a lot of businesses, so there
Well, we
hasn't
had
been
a
any
couple few in the
complaints.
beginning, like a little deli or something, right? And,
We had a coffee shop.
okay. So I just want to make sure in all of this, especially construction, whoever moves in, and they have 2 spaces, right? I want that to succeed. I just want to make sure that we've respected the rights of that commercial tenants there. I'm surprised Mr. Zamperli didn't say more about it. So how many different areas are there for bikes? Because I want this to be like, we're not going to be Western Springs, but we have 88, okay. And some of them are obviously by the commuter station.
Correct, and the metro station already has 2 different bicycle areas.
So we have theirs, but I'm just thinking that people think, so let's say we get Restaurant Row, and they're gonna be there. Somewhere in there is a couple few, right?
Yes, there's several bike parking areas. I believe there's 2 on parcel B, 2 on parcel A. Every parcel does include bicycle parking, and I believe the minimum amount required was it 24 spaces, but there's actually 88 spaces provided.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing it for him. He's gonna regret not having asked. So in Ravinia, where we cross over now with Fox's, do we need to improve that intersection, or it's designed for this to be maximum development, right? Ravinia already works, we can have lots of traffic there,
That intersection is going to continue to function the way it is. It
and
does
it's
not-
ready for growth too, right?
Correct.
Okay. And Jefferson and Main are both gonna be right in, right out. No changes to those two.
Jefferson will remain right in, right out. And Main Street, true.
Okay. So if I'm dropping off my kid at the daycare, I gotta come westbound, well, unless I use the other ways, I can come around 42nd and train station, but let's say I live, I don't know, near Harlem. I can take 143rd and do it right into Main, and I can go to that daycare and drop off my kid, right? That's safely designed with the commuter people? Okay. One of my last things, and I don't know if it's really you guys or it's them, I feel sometimes towns don't allow appropriate signage. Like, I think Tinley with their new stuff they're doing there at Oak Park with the stuff they already had, their retail is dead. The popcorn store tried really, really hard. You need signage. And, towns, sometimes you think you're Frankfurt, you got a tiny little McDonald's sign because you think you're special. I don't want it obnoxious, I don't want any fluorescence, I don't want it to look like Harlem Avenue and Bridge. Know that everything's here, whether it's the hotel or the restaurants. You drive up and down the road, you may not be looking for the restaurant today, but oh, look who opened. So I haven't seen anything here. So our only signage to tell people things are here, is there much signage? And is it gonna be at 142nd only? I mean, I don't want it to look like an old mall where there's 20 names, but I don't know. How do we know that places are here? Because we're even talking about professional space potentially. We don't do the hotel or the other. Where's signage and all this so that people know that things are here and they can succeed?
So-
If I'm just Denny's, you have a little Denny's sign, Denny's is there. We're gonna put all this stuff in, it's gonna be $35 a square foot or higher for rent, or 50, whatever they are nowadays. They're gonna pay a lot of money. I want people to know they're here and I want them to succeed. But I don't want obnoxious signage.
So the signage ordinance will be followed, that's what we have, unless they ask for some variance or so, which I'm not expecting. But it is no different than what we have on east side of LaGrange Road. I mean, if you look at the development on the east side of LaGrange Road, there's stores and shops and all of that inside the development, and people know where to go to. I think this is something similar to that will function here. I'm sure there will be internal signage, but I don't think we are expecting any giant signboards or anything like that along LaGrange on 143rd. That is not the intent.
No, there is proposed future archway signage along 142nd and LaGrange. Yeah, downtown Orland Park, yeah.
But that will not have, I'm not sure if it will have individual store names on it, that's not the intent. It will be basically downtown Orland Park or something like that, it will say that, but it will not be calling out individual. Again, I would keep saying that it's very similar to what we have on the east side of LaGrange Road and how those businesses are, getting their clientele.
And if I can just add to it, there will be a signage strategy. The way it was explained to me is, right now, this is more focused on use, bulk, square footage. Signage is gonna follow, we'll work with staff on that and make sure we're complying with code and ordinances and all that.
Thank you. Commissioner Schuessler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Khurshid, could you come up one more time?
Might as well stay there.
Yes, sir.
I really only have one question, and I'm going to make a statement for the record, because I know the village board does read what we say. Presently, at 153rd Street, we have an underground viaduct to get from the parking on the west side to the train station. It's on the east side of the tracks. Has there been any thought about building an underpass at this location to get from the east side to the west side to the east side?
So Commissioner Schuessler, we have looked in the past, underground as well as overhead. We have looked at both ways. Doing it underground, it's quite complicated, as you can imagine. We have also studied that people generally try to avoid going into something where people cannot be seen, or you cannot be seen from outside and you cannot see outside. So that's one thing we have looked at. However, we did look into overhead bridges in the past, but because the ridership has gone down so much on Metro parking lot, that at this point in time, and plus their parking demand that they are projecting for the project, does not require that they need to use the Metro parking lot, except maybe for special event of something like that. That's the only thing. So for those two reasons, we do not believe at this point in time that we need any additional higher value underpass or overpass for pedestrian users. However, things could develop in 10 years that the demand is such high that it could be looked at that time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a statement I want to make for the record. As indicated, the Triangle development has been going on for over 20 years, and I've been involved with it over the entire time, sometimes as a participant on the village board, and sometimes on the plan commission, and sometimes just kind of watching. There've been some mistakes made by the village board and by others, and there have been some major obstacles that the village board in the past had to work around. And one was a lengthy condemnation that was the result of the key parcel in the development, Orland Plaza, the owners refusing to sell. The village was able to voluntarily enter into purchase agreements with all of the other parcels except the key one, Orland Plaza. And that took several years to get through that condemnation. The other was the recession of 2008, 2009, when the banks stopped lending to developers such as Edwards and buyers, and the real estate market collapsed. So here we are today, many years later, trying to finish what has always been referred to as the Triangle development. Now it's called the downtown Orland development. I have a problem with the density. Now, yeah, they're looking at me like, huh? Most of the time, developers are hammered by the staff, the plan commission, the village board to reduce the density. In this case, I feel that the density is too low in this development. The redevelopment of the Triangle has always been a transit-oriented development. It's next to a train station, a TOD. It's described in the comprehensive plan and in the land development code as a transit-oriented area. The report, the staff report, makes the following statement in the section that's talking about, where is it? I forget. I think it's on page 2, which is the area of the staff report that talks about the comprehensive plan. It says, quote, "As the core of the downtown, this subdistrict promotes higher densities and use intensities that gradually decrease, moving away from the metro station." Excuse me. All of the buildings in this plan are 1 or 2 stories, unless option 2 is chosen for parcel A, which is a hotel, which would be 5 stories. You can't get higher densities with only 1 or 2 stories. I think that the plan for the Triangle should consider what went on in Oak Lawn, where they built a multi-story garage next to a condo building by their train station, or look at Burr Ridge, looking at something closer than Georgia, where they've had a very successful Burr Ridge Center, which is a multi-use center that has condos above retail and restaurants and offices. And I was hopeful that that's what this would entail, but it doesn't. More to the point, from a legal standpoint, this project requires a special use permit. That means the developer has to meet the special use standards which are set forth in the Land Development Code. It's section 5-105 in Land Development Code. And in that section, number 1 of the applicable standards says the special use will be consistent with the purposes, goals, objectives, and standards of the comprehensive plan and of any adopted overlay plan and these regulations. I don't think you're complying with that because it's a transit-oriented district and you've got low density. So I don't think it meets the requirements of the comprehensive plan. Also, the entire triangle is in the Village Center District. There are 11 principles in the Village Center regulations. Principle 9, which is mentioned in the staff report on page 4, requires that, encourages that alternative parking options such as underground parking or parking structures be considered. And this plan has all surface parking. The plan going forward, obviously, there's a parking garage in the part of the triangle that's already developed. And I think there should be another parking garage in the part that's being developed that you're proposing. I don't have any problem with any of the proposed modifications or conditions. You always have the need for those, depending upon the topography and the geographical area you're dealing with. I think this is a terrific plan, a nice plan, a great plan, but for a different location. It's low density, which doesn't meet the requirement for a TOD. Since the comp plan and the land development code designate the triangle area, now called the downtown Orland Park area, as a TOD, this plan doesn't comply with either the comp plan or the land development code. The village board, of course, at any time can change the land development code or the comp plan, but as it exists today, it doesn't comply. Presently in the triangle, there are 3 structures. The 9750 apartment building, which is 5 or 6 stories. There's a 5-story parking structure next to it, and next to that is the 4-story University of Chicago Medical Center. I think this development, to build out the rest of the triangle, should have similar sized buildings to what's there now. In other words, the day center is fine. It works well being next to the train station. The hotel is great, as Commissioner Zamparelli mentioned. We need a hotel on the north side of town. The entertainment center and the park amenities are wonderful, but we should have a multi-story parking structure and not structure at grade. And we should have 4 to 6-story buildings that contain retail, restaurants, offices on the first level, and offices or condos on the second level. Now, I know the village board doesn't want any more residential. That's fine as far as rental goes. We've got the 9750 building, but we certainly could use some condos on the upper levels. And I'm making this statement primarily for the village board, and I'm not criticizing the developer because I know you're working with what you were told to work with. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, thank you. Just point of clarification, and I'll ask I'll turn to our attorney here, and as far as the legality of not complying with something in the land development code, would you briefly address that?
Well, we're at the stage of a site plan approval, rather than, having a variance in front of us or having any kind of petition for a specific, building plan or finalized, density. So at the conceptual level, I don't necessarily see a hard conflict with what we have in the comprehensive plan or in the land development code, obviously pending final development and building plans specific to the site. And in addition, the comprehensive plan at least is a guidance document and not necessarily legally binding with regards to its goals, as long as the development is not seen as inconsistent to those goals. Ultimately, it'll be, as Commissioner Schuessler mentioned, ultimately it'll be within the purview of the board, at least with regards to the determination on the approval of the site plan, and I'll defer to them as the proper makers of policy in that regard.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Schuessler.
I agree with everything that Anna said, and the village board certainly has the discretion anytime to amend the comprehensive plan and to amend the land development code. However, if they don't amend and approve this plan as it's presented, it sets a dangerous precedent for future development because the village board is then violating its own plans.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I should make a disclosure first. My son works for White & Company as an architect. He's involved primarily with school buildings, school remodeling. So I'm going to defer to the attorney here. Do I need to recuse myself from this, or what do you think? He has nothing to gain or lose by anything that happens here, but I want it out there.
I think that because we're a recommending body only, and there's nothing that you have the power to approve or disapprove in terms of the entrance of any contracts. And because this, as I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a third-party contractor of the developer and not anybody with any kind of direct interest or interaction with the village. I think it's okay, but my recommendation always to people is that with ethical questions, there can also just be the appearance of impropriety. And so it's up to you individually as to whether you think that there's enough of a conflict to recuse yourself, but it's not my legal judgment that you must.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say that out there because he does work there. I have a couple of questions. I agree with Commissioner Schussler as far as the density goes. What I was hoping to see was the parking, all these parking, it kind of has more of a mall feel to it than a downtown feel to it, because you got these huge parking lots and you got a bunch of stores in the middle of it. I would have preferred to have seen parking structures going up and then more retail, restaurant-type buildings in the site. Now, I guess my first question to you is, is that economically feasible?
So we have looked at a series of different options throughout the iterations in this process, and primarily we've looked at parcels A and B with different densities. We looked at multi-unit residential. In all cases, we looked at commercial on the first floor because that creates our entertainment district. And there was an option where we looked at multi-unit residential above on parcel B and the hotel on parcel A. We did also look at multi-residential above on parcels A as well. Never multi-unit residential on both, but an either or sort of situation. The original plan on parcel B, we felt comfortable doing above grade structured parking because it fronts the train tracks. On parcel B, we felt uncomfortable with that because that would have been the frontage to LaGrange Road. And if you're coming to Orland from the north, that really is the entrance to the town, to the community. And we didn't want the parking garage to be our front face, Orland's front face. And so ultimately where we had gone was we looked at subsurface parking on B. And to answer your question, structured parking is a lot more expensive than surface parking. And subsurface parking is twice as expensive as structured parking. So anything that we were to do below grade was really cost prohibitive. And then we had engineering that we would have to deal with because we got to get to the North Pond. So there's a lot of logistics that were just, subsurface parking really isn't realistic. But we did, to answer your question, we did look at, because if we did higher density at the north end of the development, especially if it's a hotel or residential, anybody who is part of that would want to park adjacent. They don't want to park at the parking garage, at least ideally. And so really it was a cost analysis that Edwards Realty had run it, and it's just, when you start looking at structured parking, it's a whole different formula, and it's hard to get it for the math to work out.
Right, because I understand that, again, as far as the buildings go, you can build all you want, but you got to be able to have people in it.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
So from that standpoint, though, aside from the cost of the parking, is it feasible to build more or up?
The subsurface, no. Feasibly, so just take the math out of it, right? And the economic side of it. Yes, you could build up, and I'm assuming Dan's soils are good enough that we could put structured parking out there on A, right? Okay. Okay. Yeah. So the answer is you could build above grade on parcel A.
I guess what I was hoping to see was more retail, more restaurants in there and less parking, surface parking.
So,
Because it kind of just gives the feel like it's just like a mall. It's like, we've got a ton of those already.
yeah.
How is this different?
So what's different here is, like if you're taking the Orland Square Mall and then the Ring Road and then the stores that dot around it, obviously you've got the indoor mall and you're seeing a lot of those either being converted to lifestyle centers where they truly try to make them live, work, play. And really the strategy there is the numbers, I want to say, I think they're projecting by 2030 or 2035 that there's only going to be about 225 malls left in the United States, when 15 years ago there was 25,000. And when you really think about the math on that, it's kind of staggering. But what it tells you is that the way people live today, an indoor mall really isn't, it's kind of irrelevant, right? And that's why a lot of them are going to these lifestyle centers with the live, work, play. And really the strategy there is you're drawing multiple people for different reasons. And so that's really the goal. And so, to answer your question, I do think Orland and probably Woodfield are going to be two of those 250 that are left. The Ring Road is really, you're driving in, you're driving out. It's just, I'm in my car, I have a destination, I go eat at wherever, and then I go home or I go to wherever I'm going next. Really the goal of this development is it's a sense of community where you park, you walk, you experience. It's more than I drove, I got dinner, I went home. And so I do think that we're trying to create a different experience here of, yeah, maybe I'll go to dinner, maybe I'll get some drinks, maybe I'll go into a shop, maybe there'll be a concert in the park, maybe we'll go for a walk around the pond. The idea is this is really more of a community engagement experience than it is just a traditional business. And we think that that's a unique offering. I mean, really, not only in Orland, but, you could take a 10-mile radius or, maybe even 15 and, maybe Bolingbrook, Naperville definitely. So anybody between here and Naperville, they're looking for something like this. And I don't know how often you've been in Naperville, but, you go there on a Friday, Saturday night and there's traffic jam. Everybody wants that.
Yeah.
They like the convenience of the suburbs. They like the safety of the suburbs, but they want that urban experience. And people just, they have a thirst for that. And I do think that this is a little different than the businesses and the commercial developments that currently exist in Orland.
Okay. How are we doing as far as filling these units? Because again, I'm sitting here on one hand, I'm saying we should have more density, but by the same token, I don't want to see this stuff boarded up in 6 months.
Yeah.
So how are we looking as far as what we can actually, granted, it's still early, so you probably don't have signed contracts yet, but how much interest really do you have from restaurants, from hotels, from retailers, medical centers to be in there?
So we do have some very good momentum. Like you said, it's the chicken or the egg, right? Because you get somebody who's interested, and we do have a couple high-profile operators that are very interested in this. And they want to know, when is it going to be delivered? What's the economics of the deal? What can you offer to me, right? And so there are a couple groups, and really what our strategy is, and I'm going to specifically talk about parcels A and B with the entertainment district. Really what we're looking for are those anchor users, and those are going to be restaurants that are known and have multiple locations within the Chicagoland area. And really what we're targeting is on the north and south end, the way that the buildings are currently planned, those are going to be larger end cap spaces with the possibility of having a 2-story space that you could then have a second floor rooftop indoor outdoor, which is again something unique to this specific area. And once you can get those anchor restaurants in, now you can sprinkle in the mom and pop one-offs, the smaller retail shops, because you're drawing enough foot traffic to the development that somebody else says, okay, I'll use the Arboretum in South Barrington as an example. That thing was built in, right before the crash, in like 2005, and it was supposed to be high-end home furnishings. And then it just sat vacant for, I don't know, 8, 10 years. And then they started putting in a couple restaurants. Well, you get enough restaurants, all of a sudden you get the energy to the area. Now people start coming to the area. Now it starts being able to substantiate the smaller retail shops. And the Arboretum, you go to there, again, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, you can't find a parking spot. And they've got probably 1,000 parking spots. And they're still putting up more and more restaurants there. And it's one of those things that once you get momentum and once you create energy, it becomes a destination. And instead of competition, it's collaboration. And so really what we're trying to do is we've got good interest in 3 of the 4 end caps right now. And they're what I would consider to be A+ restaurant users that will then draw the smaller users to the area. And that doesn't even include the Outlot building that's on the Grange. You know, that is probably the most valuable restaurant space of all of it. And, you know, we would probably be courting a different user for that space. And then we've got good conversations going on the pickleball or the entertainment. I don't want to cast it as pickleball, but the entertainment building, there's some very good traction on that right now. The daycare building is already in process, so that's already moving forward, and we're hoping that, you know, tonight goes well so that they can move forward with the next step. So there is a lot of very good momentum happening. We're actually talking to somebody on the space in the metro station right now, and, you know, we're talking about equipment layout in there. So, you know, these are conversations that aren't just, hey, are you interested? These are real conversations that are happening right now.
Because I like the idea. I mean, again, we can quibble about some of this stuff, but I'm looking at like what they've done in Burr Ridge, where they created a downtown, which is what we're doing. I mean, some downtowns are just kind of organic. They just happen as the town grows. We're creating one, and they did that in Burr Ridge. I think they did a great job with that, from what I've seen of it. Some other places, Lamont, I guess it's always kind of been there, but what they've turned it into more recently is a huge improvement over what was there 10 or 15 years ago, and kind of created a downtown there. So I kind of see that's what we're doing here. I just like to see it be done the right way and have that energy by having a lot of stuff in there. It's not a lot of space, but, you know, if we can put as much in there as we can and not just have it be a big parking lot with some stores in the middle of it.
Right, and there is a sweet spot of you don't want to put too many spaces in there because then you can't fill it. You know, you don't get the right users in there, and then it becomes a problem. So, you know, we have studied more density, less density, and we do feel that this is a good solution. This is viable. It will create energy. It'll create density. It won't be to a point where, you know, one of the concerns we had, and this is prior to having our traffic and our parking consultants on board, you know, when we were at the highest density of the north end, there was concern of, can we get people into the district and can we get them out? And, you know, there was a time when we were looking at having a large venue where Crescent Park is, and that could have had 1,000 people on a Friday or Saturday night in there. To be honest with you, I don't know how we were going to be able to get the people in and out of the site. So I do think that this is I understand the concern about density here, but we do think that this is dense enough to be able to create a good energy that can be successful. It's a good balance.
Here's one last question. I mean, I'm assuming the parking is free?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I have, Mr.
And
Chairman.
we've even talked about valet strategies that once it gets to a point where all these restaurants are, you know, they're popping and all that, you know, there's a way that you can, again, you'll see this in places like the Arboretum, you know, at Burr Ridge, you know, on a Friday, Saturday night, there could be complimentary valet or, you know, I don't want to speak for Ramsey, but yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. No, go ahead. Yeah, you did. Go ahead.
I just assumed, I don't know if it's a false assumption, what you said, but to the west, you have a phenomenal forest preserve. You have a whole slough. I'm just assuming what I was telling you, you're not just gonna put up a boring 4-story Hampton Inn. Nothing against Hampton Inn, but just something, whatever. But I mean, I'm like, if I was a hotel guy, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna say, you know what, we wanna put our banquet room on the top, because we're gonna be one of the premium places to throw weddings. And this isn't just gonna be a hotel with 169 apartments, it's gonna be someone that's gonna have, like,
And it's an option.
Yeah, we feel that a boutique brand, and again, it could be an offshoot of a Marriott or a Hyatt or a Hilton or something like that, but a boutique brand that has an identity to it, we think would be appropriate for this, especially with the fact that, I mean, let's face it, there's gonna be restaurants and patios and all that below, so, again, no offense to Hampton Inn, you know, that.
I mean, they're quality considered, and that,
Yeah.
you know, and Hampton Inn might have other stuff, but I'm assuming somebody would put like, instead of your banquet facility on the second floor, you're gonna put it on the top, because you're gonna view that sort of, I don't know, Oak Brook downtown, maybe that place is down to Maple, no one has that view, you got a pond and all that. I just think there's an assumption that Ramsey and company are gonna make sure that whoever goes there, we're not gonna like, oh, yeah, sure, there's a phenomenal portion view across the street. That's a given assumption that you're gonna utilize that in the architecture of the last building.
Yeah, when we have looked at the higher density on A and B, the goal was the top level could be a food and beverage offering. That would be our ideal.
Sorry.
It's okay. Okay. First of all, Mr. Dunn, thank you for your very detailed answers to our questions and, clarifications. I appreciate it. I've been involved also ever since the original concept of 9750, the triangle, and we've had different iterations of the thing. It was supposed to be urban friendly. And I don't think that your plan varies from that. I have no problems with the density. And since I've been involved with this at the outset, I'm thrilled to see that here we are today with a comprehensive plan, very well thought out, very well detailed. You've touched on a lot of important issues, parking and, and circulation of traffic and everything. And obviously my fellow commissioners brought out a lot of interesting points that stole my thunder, but I'm happy to see this and very agreeable to it. And so at this point, I would like to make a motion. And regarding case number 2024-0188, also known as Downtown Orland Park Plan Development, I move to approve the staff recommended action as presented in the staff report to the Plan Commission for this case. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Paul. Commissioner Zamparelli? Aye. Okay. Commissioner Nugent?
Aye.
Commissioner Schubert?
I want the village board to seriously consider condos on the upper floor, whether it's 2 stories, 3 stories or more. No.
Okay. Chairman Parisi? Aye. Aye. Okay, the ayes have it. So now this will go to the committee of the whole. And thank you so much for your time and effort. Thank you for attending. And I move that we close public hearings.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Schuster. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And I don't think we have any other business. And what?
I don't have the agenda.
I have it right here. Here it is. No, we do not.
Make sure to touch on conflict with citizens and visitors.
Oh, are there any?
Scheduled citizens in case anybody wants.
Before I adjourn the meeting, is there anybody who's not scheduled, not on the agenda, that would have something that they'd like to bring before us? No. Okay. So I move that we adjourn at 8:48 p.m. Seconded by Commissioner Paul. In favor? Aye. Okay. Thank you all.